Hey guys, this is Christopher House of Slabs. Welcome back to another Throwback Thursday. Today we're going back to 89 with some 89 Topps baseball. Got a bunch of Hall of Famers that we could chase. We got a full sealed box. So we got 36 packs. And these are the bubblegum packs. So let's get into this. All right, started off. We got Ken Howe, Jeff Musselman, Royals leaders. I believe that's Bo Jackson on there. Sweet. Got a John Perlman, Jose Guzman, a Danny Jackson All-Star. There's a Rick Aguilera, Brett Butler, Terry Pendleton, Billy Hatcher, Scott Bankhead, Steve Ellsworth, Jeff Treadway, and a Robbie Thompson. Getting bubblegum dust all over my brake mat. All right, got a Cecilio Guante, Ricky Jordan, Mark Gubicka, Gary Templeton. There's a record breaker. Greg Walker, Jack McDowell, Denny Walling, Mickey Hatcher, Nelson Liriano, Will Clark, nice. I think I just pulled his 35th anniversary in the Topps baseball, current baseball. Sweet. Oh, Nolan Ryan, nice. That's awesome. Sweet. It's not too bad off-centered either. We'll take it. Got a Mike Henneman, Mike Greenwell. Nice. I think we pulled his Provision in the last Throwback Thursday we did. Sweet. And an Eddie Whitson in the pack. Let's try not to butcher this too bad. Right, Bill Pecota, Russ Nixon, Manny Lee, Frank Williams, Pete Stanicek, Jack Morris. There's a Charlie O'Brien, Gary Gaetti, Tracy Woodson, Sean Hilligus, Brewers leaders. Dave Leiper, Sherman Corbett, Todd Worrell, and a Spike Owen. Oh, that gun come off easy. Got a Billy Ripken, Nelson Santavina, Ricky Henderson. There's a Hubie Brooks, Mike Scott, Charlie Leibrandt, Terry Clark, Frank Viola, Oswald Peraza, Jim Presley, Lance Johnson, Rafael Santana, Jeff Montgomery, Dave Palmer, and a 88 record breaker. Got a Jones Earns. Sorry. Jones. Let's see. Doug Jones. Sorry. Doug Jones Earns. Tom Brookins, Israel Sanchez, Juan Castillo, Steve Jeltz, Eric Davis, Jim Wilwander, Ken Daly. Oh, there's a bow. Nice. That's awesome. That's pretty daggum centered too. Well, a little top heavy, but left to right looks pretty good. We'll put him up there. Let's see. Got a Dave Hingle, a Mark McLemore, Dick Schofield, Giants leaders, Tim Flannery, Don Schlaut, and a Ricky Horton. Scoot in a little closer. Got a David Wells, Andy Van Schleich, Renee Gonzalez, Storm Davis, Bruce Fields, Rich Gedman, Jim Gantner, Greg Matthews, Red Sox leaders, Jay Howell, Donnie Hill, Stan Jefferson. There's a Don Mattingly All-Star. Nice. Sweet. Greg Booker and a Pascual Perez. Paul Molitor, Nelson Santavina, Ricky Henderson, Hubie Brooks, Mark Langston, Bob Brindley, Ron Hassey, Ron Gant, Dion James, Dave Elin, Randy Villard, Dave Schmitty, Andy Van Schleich on the All-Star, Von Hayes, and a Tim Teufel 2-for-1. Ernie Riles, Steve Curry, Jim Maducci, Doug Drabick, Doc Edwards, Chris Spear, Rich Yett, Greg Minton, Wade Boggs, turn back the clock, Hank Aaron, new all-time home run king. Sweet. Keith Atherton, Mike Boddicker, Angels leaders, and a John Smoltz. Steve Peters, Rick Sutcliffe, Carney Lansford, Jesse Barfield, Gerald Young, Paul O'Neill, Todd Stottlemyre, Jeff Ballard. There's a Wally Joyner. Sweet. Pirates leaders. Luis Aquino, Lance McCullers, Mark Lewis, Ed Vandenberg, and Andre Dawson. Jim Eppard, Mike Moore, Mike Schmidt, Bill Doran, Terry Taylor, Terry Mulholland, Charles Hudson, Tom Brunansky, Dwayne Murphy, Steve Shields, Nick Leva, RJ Reynolds, Dave Gallagher, Doug Deskinzo, and a Scott Medvin. There's a Mackey Sasser, Ernie Witt, Jack Howell, Fred Lynn, Gerald Young, Chuck Krim, Pat Tabler, Danny Tartabull, Bob Malacky, George Brett, Ron Guidry, Julio Franco on the All-Star, Mark Davidson, Jimmy Key, and a Steve Searcy future star. Chet Lemon, Jerry Don Gleaton, Terry Kennedy, Tom Foley, Dave Magadan, Lloyd Mosby, Wallace Johnson, turn back the clock, Lou Brock. Sweet. Tom Candiotti, Roger McDowell, Reds leaders. Kent Herbick and a Mark Williamson. All right. I think we're getting close to that halfway point through the box. Definitely got a lot of cards, a lot of packs in this old stuff. That's awesome though. These cards nowadays, you get less and less as they come out. Fernando Valenzuela, Danny Darwin, Joe Morgan, Whitey Herzog, Ken Gerhardt, Kurt Ford, Juan Neves, Ozzie Gillen, Daryl Boston. There's a Sandy Alomar future star. Nice. Rob Ducey. Dodgers leaders. Ty Griffin, first draft pick. Number 1 first draft pick. Pat Sheridan. and a Gino Petralli. Jimmy Williams, Craig Biggio, Marvel Wine, Atlee Hammaker, Keith Hernandez, Pete Smith, Bruce Benedict, Tommy Barrett, Doug Jones, Padres leaders, Dave Bergman, Marvin Freeman, Mario Diaz, Don Paul, and a Gary Carter. Kevin Kaufman, Chris Bosio, Gary Thurman, Juan Behringer, John Dobson, Johnny Ray, Rick Leach, Astros leaders, Ken Phelps, John Morris, Richard Dotson, Kurt Young, Jose Rijo, Phillies leaders, and a Barry Jones. Cal Daniels, Jimmy Quirk, Rex Hudler, Jeff Russell, Roger Clemens, Lloyd Mosby, Wallace Johnson, Roberto Alomar, Jesse Orozco, Corey Snyder, Scott Sanderson, Andy McGaffigan, Rick Honeycutt, Kevin Elster, and a Bill Long. Jim Snyder, Luis Salazar, Glenn Wilson, Rob Dibble, Mike Flanagan, Tom Lawless, Bob Brower, number 1 draft pick Steve Avery, number 1 draft pick Jim Abbott, a Manny Trio, turn back the clock Dwight Gooden. Gooden was a good one. John Moses, Randy Myers, the Cubs leaders, and a Rick Rhoden. Rob Deere, Keith Moreland, Mark Grace, Dave Stewart, Bill Wegman, Steve Balboni, Chris Sabo, Mike Bilecki. Turn back the clock, Tony Olivia for the Twins, 1964. German Gonzalez, Luis Rivera, exposed leaders. Felix Furman and a Gene Walter. Got a mountain of gum over here. Kirk Gibson, Doc Gooden, Billy Hatcher, Doug Sisk, Jerry Reed, John Franco, Milt Thompson, Damon Berryhill, Daryl Miller, Brady Anderson, Don Zimmer. There's the Mariners leaders. John Hesketh and a Mickey Tettleton. Willie McGee, Eric Davis, Jim Wellwander, Ken Daly, Mike Morgan, Tony Armas, Eddie Murray, Rafael Belliard, Guillermo Hernandez, Andre Dawson on the All-Star. Sweet. Tom Lasorda, Steve Ontiveros. There's an Andres Galarga. I'm done. All-Star. Sweet. There's a record breaker for the Mets. Let's see. Big Mag is perfect on the base pass. Kevin McReynolds for the Mets, 1988. Sweet. That was rough. Walt Weiss, Tracy Jones, Charlie O'Brien, Charlie Pulio, Tony Fernandez, Dave Righetti, Ron Tingley, Jerry Roos, Gary Redis, Kim Caminetti, number 1 draft pick Monty Ferris, Jim Pankovitz. Oh, there's a Kirby Puckett All-Star. Sweet. Looks pretty well centered too. Awesome. Got a Tim Cruz and a Mark Eichhorn. Alan Ashby, Bob Walk, Dale Murphy, Mike Greenwell again. Sweet. Dave Martinez, Jim Sundberg, Greg Maddux. Awesome. Sweet. Darnell Coles, Sid Fernandez, Mets leaders. Awesome. Greg Harris, Chris Carpenter, Matt Noakes, Orel Hershiser, All-Star, and a Mike Capel. Doug Drabick, Doc Edwards, Tony Phillips, Rich Yett, Tom Brookins, Israel Sanchez, Larry McWilliams, Terry Pohl, Scott Lusader, Chili Davis, Terry McGriff, #1 draft pick Andy Beans, or Benez, however you say it, Jeff Robinson, Wes Gardner, a Mike Greenwell on the All-Star. Awesome. Definitely got some stuff on the back, but that's all right. Sweet. We'll take it. Joe Price. There's a Pete Rose. Shane Raleigh. Juan Samuel. Paul Gibson. Tom Kelly. Nick Azaski. Kirk Gibson on the All-Star. Mike Jackson. Don Baylor. There's Sparky Anderson, Mike Witt, Mark Thurmond. There's a Wade Boggs All-Star, and Dan Kisenberry. Bruce Fields, Terry Steinbach, Floyd Bannister, Bill Pecota, Russ Nixon, Manny Lee, Frank Williams, Terry Francona, Robin Ventura, #1 draft pick, Juan Agosto, Bert Blyleven, Hippolito Pina, Joe Mora McGrain, Drew Hall, and a Barry Jones. Whitey Herzog, Ken Gerhardt, Kurt Ford, Kurt Wilkerson, Shawan Dunston, Steve Curry, Jim Aducci, Will Tejada, Neil Heaton, Jack Lazorko, Scott Bales, John Tudor, Al Nipper, Orestes Destrada. Checklist. Pete Smith, Melito Perez, Kevin McReynolds, Rick Chu, Scott Fletcher, Dickie Thon, Nelson Liriano, Alvin Davis, Dale Greg Harris, Bob Boone, Twins leaders, Jerry Brown, Al Leiter, and a Kirby Puckett. Sweet. We're getting some pretty good pulls. Pretty good pulls. Bo Diaz, Chris Sabo, John Cerruti, Jose De Leon, Dave Dravecki, Brian Harvey, Jody Reed, Bob Boone on the All-Star, Mike Diaz, Jose Canseco. Sweet. We'll take it. We will take it. Mike Young, Bob Dernier, Steve Farr, and a Bill Benet, #1 draft pick, and a Darren Jackson. Donnell Nixon, Mitch Webster, Tom Lawless, Bob Brower, Fernando Valenzuela, Danny Darwin, Joe Morgan, Glenn Hubbard, Mike Campbell, Dave Winfield, Alejandro Pina, Norm Charlton, Gary Barshow, Eric Plunk, and a Greg Caderet. Bill Schroeder, John Wathan, Paul Assenmatcher, Rob Murphy, Frank White, Dale Spoon, Larry Owen, Kelly Downs, Ken Williams, Luis Medina, Julio Franco, Bruce Hurst, Devin White, Bob Ojeda, and a Frank DePino. John Dobson, Johnny Ray, Rick Leach, Mark Salas, Rod Nichols, Stuart Clyburn, Barry Larkin, Craig Worthington, Floyd Humans, Candy Sierra, Mike McFarlane, Trevor Wilson, Carlton Fisk, Brian Holton, and Ray Quinones. Excuse me. Got a Terry Taylor, Terry Mulholland, Charles Hudson, Dave Smith, Pete O'Brien, Dan Pascua, Storm Davis, Rafael Belliard, Guillermo Hernandez, Andre Dawson on the All-Star, Tom Lasorda, Steve Ontiveros, and Andres on the All-Star. Record breaker. There's Big Mac again. Got 4 packs left. See if we can't pull any more Hall of Famers. Got a Jody Reed, Teddy Higuera, Jeff Robinson, Jim Eppard, Tim Leary, Scott Bradley, Jim Clancy, Terry Pohl, Scott Lusader, Chili Davis, Terry McGriff, Andre Benez on a first round draft pick, Jeff Robinson, Wes Gardner, and a Mike Greenwell. Man, that's like number 3 on the Mike Greenwell. Nice. Oh. I think that might look the best out of all of them. Ivan Calderon, Tom Hinkie, Ryan Sandberg, Alan Trammell, Mark Grace, Ruben Sierra, Bob Knepper, Willie Wilson, Buddy Bale, Ryan Sandberg, Luis Agallo, Jim Gott, Frank Viola on the All-Star, Brian Fisher, and an Alan Anderson. Mike Morgan, Tony La Russa, Al Newman, Kevin Kaufman, Chris Bosio, Dave Johnson, Keith Miller, Cardinals leaders, John Davis, Tom Browning, Tom Pagnosi, Jose Oquendo, Bob Forsch, Junior Ortiz, Scott Terry. All right, I think we got one last pack. Will we pull somebody cool? These vintage rips are really fun. You get so many cards. Y'all comment down below and let us know y'all's favorite set or what y'all would like to see us open next. Charlie Paleo, Tony Fernandez, Tom Niedenfer, Ron Tingley, Jim Snyder, Luis Salazar, Glenn Wilson, Indians leaders, Tigers leaders. I'll get it to focus there. Guess it won't ever do it. Whatever. Tom Bolton, Mike Harkey. Oh, Mike Harkey, future star. Sweet. Ted Power, Mike Schuler, Athletics leaders, Jose Canseco, and a Mike Lacrosse. Well, we appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe if you would, and y'all be sure to tune in. We do a Throwback Thursday every Thursday. So y'all tune in next Thursday and see where we go next. Thank y'all. Have a good day.